Now these next set of videos will be using a published work of unknown origin. I say unknown because the source of this philosophy does not come from a three-dimensional universe. It couldn't. The perspectives and ability to understand its governing quantum laws cannot be understood or conceived from our dimension without the efforts of someone from a two-dimensional field perspective, or the astral realm, which in itself, to us, is a remnant universe, but from their universe we appear as a faint field of unknown particles, much like the luminescence field is observed by us. In the astral realm the laws of physics are balanced between two forces, emotional and elemental. To them all things are derived from some elemental source and cannot take on a living presence without first acting upon an emotional desire. To do so corrupts the spiritual form and thus committing it to the living realm, and death does not limit itself with the death of the body but instead transitions to a cycle of events, driven by cause and effect but governed by the two quantum laws of their reality. These laws are dictated here in detail. I shall offer commentary to help clarify our perception of its meaning. Through its understanding and adaptation one can gain the knowledge and therefore the power to transition between life and death, across the singularity into other era in time beyond our observable universe, and much more.
Chapter 1, The All. God is the universe, and the universe is an emanation of Him as clouds are an emanation of the sea. Not just a father and son relationship but an ocean and raindrop. So man is a part of God with attributes and likeness of God. God is everything and man is just a portion of Him and one phase of His being, as clouds are one expression of the waters that make the sea. Not only are all thine, but all are thou, meaning man is a part of God as leaves are a part of a tree. Not in the sense that a man creates a machine ... but something that is an emanation of the tree and is a living part of the tree. Only this way has God made man. Humanity is a growth, a development. All living things are likened to a hand. An injury to one finger would not appear to the others as an injury to them, but if the finger consciousness could expand to the hand, the injury to all would be apparent. Likewise, an injury to one human is an injury to the race. Man doesn't see it because of the limitation of consciousness. He is true to God who is true to man. Whatever wrong is done to any man, whether the weakest or strongest ... that wrong is done to us. He is true to God who is true to man because they are one life, and different expressions of the one eternal consciousness. They are inseparable as the light and warmth of the sun. In the anthropomorphic doctrine God punishes you, but in reality it is not punishment but consequences from breaking nature's laws. Chapter 2, Planes of Life. Death is not the ending of consciousness but the ending of consciousness in the confinements of the body. Planes equals region or place or world. Physical plane is that observable through the five senses. When the last atom has disintegrated, it has not come to an end, but passes on to the next level of existence, the lowest level of the astral plane, and onto mental plane. All three planes are matter and have forms, while to most the latter two are formless as our physical senses know. The astral plane encloses and permeates the physical, and the mental encloses and permeates both. The water in a pan may evaporate, but that doesn't mean that it is no longer matter because it has passed from a state unobservable to the senses. Only when matter in its certain forms can we know of its existence through our physical senses. Like a deceased person ... they don't leave the earth. BC The astral and mental planes are as much a part of earth as the physical. Thoughts pass through the mental plane to astral plane to the physical brain, then expressed. We are spirits operating through different modes of existence. Mental, astral, and physical. We are accustomed to thinking the physical body is the man. Every atom of the body changes within a few years' time. Cells wear out and break down and pass away to be replaced by new matter. Not a particle that was in your body 7 years ago is here now. The bodies we have today will pass away and be growing in the trees and blooming in the flowers in a few years. The bodies we shall then have will come from all over the physical plane and brought together. The body is an unstable mass of matter. Fear of death is equated to materialism. Why fear a thing that is universal, that comes to all? Death is the close of a cycle of experience, not the end. The organism that congeal to make the vehicle come together just for a time and return from whence they came. In reality there is no such thing as death unless you apply it to the form temporary vehicle of consciousness. As for the consciousness, there is no death. There is life in a physical form and life outside of it. Death on the physical plane is birth on the astral. When you are birthed in the physical, that is death in the astral. Death is as necessary as life for evolution. Death is the destroyer of the useless. There is a time for every human being to die. That is to say, a time when the body has fulfilled its mission for its existence. Diseases render the body inefficient. Old age breaks down the body to where the consciousness can no longer express itself through its impaired machine, so the ego departs eventually. Death is painless. There are 3 ways to die: old age, disease, or violent accident. Old age is the best way to die because strong desire forces tend to wear off in old age. You don't want to take strong physical desires to the astral realm. Next is disease. As the disease grows, desires tend to fade in humans. Violence tends to leave most with lower grades of astral matter in the body, meaning strong desires. Chapter 3: Astral World. In the astral life, emotion expresses itself more intensely. All of nature's processes are really kind and beneficent, although it is not always apparent on the surface. Pain is a friend. It is always the lesser of 2 evils. It is nature's danger signal. We unconsciously get the hand too close to the fire and are startled with a burn. That is the warning, but for it the hand would have been consumed. We overwork, and a warning pain springs up in the brain or heart. The network of nerves that makes us suffer is but nature's telegraph system prepared to send an instantaneous message of warning from every point of the body to the brain. This astral region, as a whole, is the world of desires, passions and emotions. When the astral life is finished, that is to say, when the forces that hold us to the astral plane are exhausted, we pass into the mental region, or heaven world, which is the second division of the invisible world about us. This does not represent a movement in space, but a gradual release from the astral body and a transfer of the consciousness to the mental body. It is the emotions that determine the astral life, and if they are directly selfish, they bring the man into conditions on the astral plane that are very unpleasant. The length of the astral sojourn depends primarily upon the durability of the astral body, and that, in turn, depends upon the kind of a life he has lived here. Let us suppose that he has lived a very gross and sensual life. Let us also imagine that he had an ungovernable temper and frequently gave way to outbursts of fury. Further, that he was cruel and revengeful, seeking and finding many opportunities of inflicting injuries upon others. Here we have a case for long life on the lower levels of the astral world. Let us now consider a different type of man. He lives peacefully and harmoniously with those about him. He feels strong affection for wife and children. He has a host of friends because of his cheerful, helpful and sympathetic attitude toward others. He lives cleanly and thinks nobly. His mind is kept free from trivialities and his tongue is never employed in gossip. He makes a determined and persistent effort to eliminate pride, envy and ambition. He cultivates the habit of thinking first of the welfare of others and always last of himself. In short, tries hard to eliminate selfishness and see all things impersonally.
I just want to add that taking this into account makes me wonder about Jesus and the sinless life he led. Was it a conspiracy of the spiritual guardians at that time who he had come to defeat and restore balance to the afterlife, making your place in the afterlife depending upon your deeds and faith instead of the amount of wealth you were buried with? Ensuring his spiritual body would have a short lifespan and unable to help anyone.
Such a man could know nothing whatever of the disagreeable part of the astral life and would pass quickly through even the higher subdivisions and reach the ecstatic happiness of the heaven world. From the lower subdivisions a man rises very gradually to the higher. He remains on a given level for the period that is required to eliminate the matter of that subdivision from his astral body. He is then immediately conscious on the next higher level. The grosser matter falls away because the man has at last stopped sending his life force through it. Ungratified desire has finally worn itself out and he is free. The process can be greatly hastened or retarded by the man's attitude toward life. If he foolishly dwells upon his desires, he gives new vitality and prolonged life to them. If he can resolutely turn his mind to higher things, he hastens his release. His fate is in his own hands, and he is fortunate indeed if he has a knowledge of such matters. The dead. As a matter of fact, he has not lost sight of us and does not have our sense of separation. Not only is he able to see us at all times and be conscious of our feelings and emotions, but during the hours when we are asleep he is in full and free communication with us and we with him. On awakening we usually have no memory of this, and if we do we call it a dream. But it is not so with him. His memory of it is perfect, and as a consequence he has not our sense of separation and loss. So-called dead are not dead, and are close at hand. Probably there is no astral subject of more vital importance to any of us than that of the right attitude of mind and emotion toward the living dead. It is commonly said that we can do nothing more for them when they have passed away from physical plane life, but a greater error could not easily be made. The connection with us is by no means severed. Not only are they emotionally in touch with us, but their emotions are very much keener than when they had a physical body through which to express them. They are now living in the astral body, the matter of which is enormously more responsive to emotional vibrations. A joyous emotion here would be tremendously more joyous there, and a thing that would produce depression would be enormously more depressing there. That fact should give pause to those who are inclined to think in sorrow, and with something of despair, of their friends who have passed on. They are not far away in space, and our strong emotions affect them instantly and profoundly. We are all familiar with the fact that moods are communicable. The person who is cheerful cheers up others in his vicinity, while the one who is gloomy spreads gloom wherever he goes. It is a simple matter of vibrations. It is often within the power of a member of the family who habitually has the blues to destroy the happiness of the entire household. If we think of the most depressing effect that can be caused by sorrow on the physical plane, and then multiply its effectiveness many times, we shall have no exaggeration of the astral effects of the emotions we indulge in the physical body. If, then, the sorrow of a weeping relative distresses us here, it is clear that it must bring really keen distress to the one who is the subject of such grief. His life may thus be made miserable by the very persons who would be the last to cause him sorrow if they understood what they were doing. We can really help the so-called dead and make them very much happier by simply changing our mournful attitude toward them. All violent expressions of grief should be avoided, and determination to make the best of the matter should be cultivated. The situation may indeed be bad, but we make it very much worse by our mourning. The funeral customs of Occidental civilization are quite consistent with its materialism. We act as nearly as possible as though we believe the dead are lost to us forever. A more sensible attitude of mind may be observed at any theosophical funeral and, with growing frequency, at the funerals among all thinking people. A funeral should not be the occasion of a final expression of grief, but a gathering of friends who send kindly thoughts and helpful good wishes to the comrade whose life work in the physical world is finished. The general feeling should be very much like that of a party of friends who go to the pier to see a well-loved traveler off on a long journey to remote parts of the earth for a sojourn of many years or possibly a lifetime.